Hashtag human defeats alien champion, now he's legally bound to marry his 3 wives. A heartfelt and humorous HFY sci-fi tale. The arena was an explosion of sound and light, a spectacle designed to intimidate and overwhelm. Somewhere in the stands, thousands of alien spectators were chanting the name of their reigning champion, Garath, Garath, Garath. Ethan Miller, a scrappy human who had just stumbled into intergalactic fame, adjusted the ragged translator earpiece strapped to his head. He wasn't supposed to be here. He was a mechanic on a cargo ship, but thanks to an interstellar version of poker and a misinterpreted hand gesture, he was now Earth's representative in a combat trial against the largest, meanest, and apparently most eligible warrior of the Zelquarian Empire. The stakes? Freedom for Earth, and, unbeknownst to Ethan, an ancient tradition involving marriage. The crowd fell silent as Garath stepped into the ring, his 7-foot frame glistening with an iridescent sheen, his 6 muscular arms flexed ominously, and his voice boomed through the arena. Earthling, you may surrender now and spare yourself the humiliation. Ethan raised a hand, unsure if he was offering a salute or a nervous wave. Yeah, no thanks, let's get this over with. Ethan's survival instincts and street brawling skills turned out to be a surprise advantage. While Garath fought with the precision of a warrior who had trained for decades, Ethan fought dirty, a low blow here, a handful of sand there, and one well-timed dodge led to Garath accidentally knocking himself out on a low-hanging beam. The crowd gasped, then they roared. Before Ethan could catch his breath, the Emperor of the Zelquarian Empire descended into the ring, his elaborate robes billowing dramatically, his translator unit crackled to life. By ancient law, the victor of the trial of succession becomes the champion's successor in all matters, including their matrimonial alliances. Congratulations, human, you are now bound to Garath's 3 esteemed wives. Ethan blinked. Wait, what? Hours later, Ethan sat in a gilded chamber surrounded by his new wives. There was Lasara, a no-nonsense strategist with a glare that could melt steel. I trust you have a plan for managing our estate? Garath never paid attention to the budget. Then there was Irina, a cheerful artist whose tentacle-like hair glimmered in the light. I've already started a new mural to commemorate this union. You're surprisingly easy to draw, Ethan. Finally, there was Valcora, a towering and reserved warrior who hadn't spoken a word since they'd met but had been sharpening a blade ominously in the corner. Look, Ethan said, trying to keep his voice steady, I didn't ask for this. I'm just a guy from Chicago who fixes engines. I don't know anything about managing estates, posing for murals, or, whatever Valcora does. Lasara leaned forward, her sharp features softening slightly. Then we'll teach you, human. Marriage in our culture is not a prison, it is a partnership. You defeated Garath not by strength but by cunning. Perhaps you'll surprise us yet. In the following weeks, Ethan learned more about the Zelquarian Empire than he'd ever thought possible. He became a reluctant diplomat, an accidental celebrity, and, most surprisingly, a decent husband. Lasara's stern guidance helped him navigate the Empire's labyrinthine politics. Irina's boundless optimism kept his spirits up, and Valcora? She eventually spoke, just once, to compliment his determination. Not bad for a human, she muttered, handing him a sword during a training session. Ethan grinned. High praise coming from you. Word of Earth's accidental hero spread across the galaxy. To Ethan's surprise, his unconventional approach to leadership and marriage made him a symbol of interspecies cooperation. And while he still missed the simplicity of fixing engines, Ethan couldn't deny that life as the husband of 3 alien wives, each as fierce and unique as the stars, was anything but dull. After all, he'd beaten the galaxy's greatest champion. How hard could marriage be? Chapter 2, Honeymoon in Hyperspace. The diplomatic vessel Elysian Accord soared through the glittering expanse of the Zelquarian Nebula, its hull painted with swirling patterns that symbolized unity. Ethan stood on the observation deck, hands stuffed in the pockets of a hastily tailored tunic that made him look like an underdressed pirate. He wasn't alone. Lasara stood at his side, her arms crossed as she studied a holographic projection of the ship's trajectory. Irina was sprawled on a chaise nearby, her tentacle hair weaving in intricate braid as she hummed a Zelquarian love ballad. Valcora stood a few feet away, polishing her massive sword with meticulous care. Ethan broke the silence. So, honeymoon, huh? What exactly does that mean in your culture? Because I'm pretty sure it's not candlelit dinners and strolls on the beach. Irina giggled, her bright, gemstone-like eyes sparkling. Oh, Ethan, it's a time to bond as a family. We'll visit important sites, engage in traditional activities, and survive 3 tests of compatibility, Lasara interrupted, her tone clipped. The Zelquarian Council insisted. It's ceremonial but mandatory. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Tests? What kind of tests? Valcora sheathed her sword with a sharp clink. The first is a hunt. The second is a puzzle. The third is a matter of trust. Ethan groaned. You couldn't just let me enjoy a nice dinner in peace, could you? ##### The first test, the hunt. Ethan found himself on the surface of Selker 9, a lush jungle moon teeming with bioluminescent flora and fauna. He was armed with a primitive spear, his 3 wives spread out in strategic positions. The target? A Clorvan beast, a 6-legged predator with chameleon-like skin and razor-sharp claws. Stick to the plan, Lasara's voice crackled through his earpiece. We drive it toward you, and you deliver the killing blow. Easy for you to say, Ethan muttered, sweating as he crouched behind a glowing fern. You're not the one playing bait. The underbrush rustled. A low growl sent a shiver down his spine. Then the beast lunged, its scales shifting from green to fiery red as it charged. Ethan's instincts kicked in. He sidestepped at the last second, using the spear to vault over the creature. Before it could recover, Velcora leaped from the shadows, pinning it down with her sheer strength. Now, Ethan, she roared. He hesitated, then drove the spear into the creature's exposed flank. The beast let out a final, deafening roar before collapsing. The team regrouped, bloodied but victorious. Arena clapped her hands, grinning. First test complete. And Ethan didn't even run away. Impressive. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Ethan said, brushing dirt off his tunic. ##### The second test, the puzzle. The puzzle chamber was a cavernous hall filled with floating crystals, each emitting a different frequency of light and sound. The objective? Align them in harmony to unlock the exit. Lasara took charge, barking orders. Velcora, adjust the red crystal to 30 degrees. Arena, rotate the blue one counterclockwise. Ethan, for the love of the stars, don't touch anything unless I tell you to. Noted, Ethan said, trying not to trip over the glowing floor panels. Despite Lasara's sharp leadership, it was Ethan who noticed the pattern. Wait a second, he said, studying the crystals. They're arranged like a musical scale. Arena, can you hum that tune from earlier? Arena's melody resonated through the chamber. As she sang, Ethan adjusted the crystals, matching their frequencies to her notes. One by one, they lit up in perfect harmony. The exit opened with a soft chime. Lasara gave Ethan a rare smile. Not bad, human. You might have some potential after all. ##### The third test, a leap of faith. The final test took place on a gravity-defying platform high above the Zelquarian capital. Ethan stood at the edge of a transparent bridge that disappeared halfway across a chasm. The final challenge is trust, Lasara explained. You must cross to the other side blindfolded, guided only by our voices. Ethan stared at her. Are you serious? That's a mile down if I fall. Velcora handed him a blindfold. Fear is irrelevant. Trust us. With a deep breath, Ethan tied the blindfold over his eyes. He stepped onto the bridge, his heart pounding as Arena's cheerful voice guided him. Left. Now straight. A little to the right. Halfway across, the bridge trembled. Keep going, Velcora's calm voice urged. When he finally reached the other side, Ethan yanked off the blindfold and collapsed. You people are insane. Lasara smirked. But you trusted us. That's what matters. ##### Epilogue, an unlikely family. Back aboard the Elysian Accord, Ethan lounged in the common room, exhausted but alive. His wives surrounded him, each in their own way acknowledging his efforts. You've proven yourself, Ethan, Lasara said, raising a glass of Zelquarian wine. You're not just a partner, Arena added, smiling brightly. You're family. Velcora nodded, her stoic expression softening. Welcome to our world, human. Ethan grinned, raising his glass. Here's to surviving alien marriage. One day at a time. And for the first time in his chaotic journey, he felt like he belonged. ##### Chapter 3, The Galactic In-Laws. Ethan was just starting to feel comfortable with his role as an intergalactic husband when he was hit with a new challenge, meeting the in-laws. The Elysian Accord docked at the Zelquarian High Palace, a towering crystal structure that shimmered like a prism under twin suns. Ethan straightened his tunic for the 5th time, his nerves fraying as Lasara adjusted his collar with the precision of a drill sergeant. Remember, she said sternly, my parents are traditionalists. Impress them, and you'll earn their respect. Fail, and they'll petition to annul our union. Annul? Ethan gulped. That's still an option? Velcora loomed behind him, her imposing presence making him stand straighter. Relax, just don't embarrass us. Comforting, Ethan muttered. Arena, ever the optimist, patted his shoulder. You'll be fine, just smile and nod. Oh, and avoid discussing your primitive Earth diet. They find the idea of consuming dairy unsettling. ##### The meeting. Ethan's first encounter was with Lasara's mother, Lady Tyvanes, a regal figure whose crystalline gown seemed to hum with power. She surveyed Ethan with a critical eye, her expression unreadable. So, she said, her voice smooth as silk, this is the human who defeated Garath. Tell me, Ethan, do you consider yourself worthy of my daughter? Ethan hesitated, then squared his shoulders. I'm not sure I'm worthy, ma'am, but I'm doing everything I can to earn her trust, and I think I'm getting there. Tyvanes arched an elegant brow but didn't comment. Next was Lasara's father, General Zilthar, who was less reserved. I hear you used sand to blind Garath, he said, his voice booming, resourceful, if not entirely honorable. Ethan gave a sheepish grin. Well, sir, where I come from, the only rule is to win. Honor's great, but it doesn't mean much if you're dead. The general let out a thunderous laugh, slapping Ethan on the back hard enough to make him stumble. I like him. Ethan exhaled in relief, only to realize his next meeting was with Irina's parents. The artists. Irina's parents, both renowned artists, were surprisingly warm. Her father, Lorian, immediately dragged Ethan into a studio filled with holographic paints and kinetic sculptures. Let me see your creativity, Lorian exclaimed, handing Ethan a brush-like tool. Ethan awkwardly dabbed at a floating canvas, creating what he hoped was an abstract interpretation of the Chicago skyline. Irina's mother tilted her head, studying the piece. Primitive, yet evocative, she declared. It captures the chaos of your species beautifully. Thanks, Ethan said, unsure whether to feel complimented or insulted. Velcora's clan. Velcora's family was another matter entirely. Her clan lived aboard a massive warship orbiting the planet, and their gathering felt more like a military briefing. Velcora's older brother, Korvek, towered over Ethan, his forearms crossed. Our sister claims you have courage, he said, his voice like grinding stone. Prove it. How? Ethan asked warily. Korvek gestured to a sparring ring. Survived 3 rounds with me. Ethan turned to Velcora, wide-eyed. You're kidding, right? Velcora's lips twitched in what might have been a smile. No. The sparring match. The first round was brutal. Korvek's strikes came with the force of a wrecking ball, and Ethan barely dodged in time. By the second round, Ethan realized he couldn't outmuscle him, so he used his brain. Feigning exhaustion, Ethan lured Korvek into overcommitting to an attack. When the massive alien stumbled, Ethan darted behind him and used a nearby weapon, a practice staff, to trip him. The third round ended in a stalemate, but Korvek clapped Ethan on the back with a grin. Clever, you fight like prey turning into a predator. I approve. Velcora gave Ethan an approving nod, her rare smile appearing again. A united front. By the end of the day, Ethan had navigated the gauntlet of his in-laws. They weren't exactly throwing parades in his honor, but there was a grudging respect in their eyes. As the Elysian Accord departed the palace, Ethan slumped into a chair, utterly drained. Well, he said, I didn't die, that's progress. Lasara smirked. You did better than expected. Irina beamed. They loved you. Velcora nodded solemnly. You earned your place today, human. Ethan let out a tired laugh. You know, I thought marriage was supposed to be about settling down. With you 3, it feels more like boot camp. Lasara raised an eyebrow. Would you want it any other way? Ethan grinned. Not a chance. The ship hurtled toward the next star system, a testament to the strange and wonderful family they were building together, one trial, one laugh, and one leap of faith at a time.